Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, for the record, my name is John Kitzhaber. I currently serve as governor of the state of Oregon. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'd like to start by commending the Judiciary Committee for having this hearing on steps that we can take here in the state of Oregon to help address the stain of violence, gun violence, that has unfortunately come to define our nation. In this hearing room this morning, we have armed officers from Oregon's law enforcement community who are sworn to protect the public safety, and we have armed citizens intent on protecting their right to keep and bear arms. And I think it's important for us to remember that these two are not mutually exclusive, that we are on the same side here, that all of us share a country and a community. We all have those we love and hopes and dreams of our own for the future. But it's also important to remember that every right bears with it a commensurate responsibility, and it is the balance of those rights and responsibilities that make our democracy strong and, in fact, make our democracy possible. The two bills that I am here to support today represent Oregon's commitment to ensure that firearms are lawfully sold and that safety on our school campuses is of paramount importance. Senate Bill 700, which to me is the more important of the two bills, would expand criminal background checks to gun sales. This, to me, is an effective and reasonable measure to ensure that guns do not fall into the hands of those who should not have them. Currently, if you buy a firearm at a store or a gun show, you must undergo a criminal background check to ensure that you are not a felon or otherwise prohibited from owning a firearm. This makes sense and does not, in fact, create a barrier to people buying firearms legally. Senate Bill 700 would expand the criminal background check requirement to private party sales to any other person outside that person's immediate family. This, too, is a sensible requirement to help ensure that firearms are not sold to the wrong person without inhibiting people who would like to sell firearms on Craigslist or at gun shows. Senate Bill 347 makes a similar common sense approach that would promote school safety by making schools off limits to those carrying firearms, including those who have a concealed weapon permit, unless, and this is very important, the school district adopts a policy that allows firearms on campus. These two bills represent a reasonable and necessary set of steps that this legislature can and should take. And there is a third, passing the 43% increase in general fund support for Oregon's community mental health system, which I included in my recommended budget. I want to make it clear that this is not about stigmatizing those with mental health conditions. Those who suffer mental health issues are more likely to be victims of violence rather than perpetrators. But it is about the fact that we need a multi-pronged approach to promote a safer and healthier society. That requires, at a minimum, the kind of reasonable, important legislation reflected in Senate Bill 700 and Senate Bill 347. It requires a much more robust and sustained commitment to invest in community mental health. And in the end, it requires that each of us find in our own heart the willingness to reflect upon and rethink our relationship with the community in which we live. I think there's a certain historic symmetry about the sobering fact that it was 45 years ago today, April 5th, 1968, that Robert Kennedy gave a speech on violence in America to the City Club of Cleveland the day after Martin Luther King was assassinated, and 2 months before his own violent death from a gunshot. And he said that whenever any American's life is taken by another American unnecessarily, whether it is done in the name of the law or in defiance of the law, by one man or by a gang, in cold blood or in person and passion, in an attack of violence or in response to violence, whenever we tear at the fabric of our lives which another man has painfully and clumsily woven for himself and his children, whenever we do this, then the whole nation is degraded. In the final analysis, this is not really about gun violence, and it's not really about the Second Amendment. It's about us. I don't think there's anyone here who questions the right to keep and bear arms. But I hope all of us are here to fulfill our responsibility to one another to do all in our power to build a safe and healthy society for ourselves and for our children. Senate Bill 700 and Senate Bill 347 represent a good start. Thank you.
Thank you very much.